All change at Rugby Park as Kilmarnock sack Alex Totten.
Kilmarnock have sacked their manager Alex Totten after 2.5 years in charge at Rugby Park. Coach Bobby Williamson has been appointed as caretaker boss. The Premier Division side also announced a major boardroom shuffle, with Chairman Jim Moffat stepping down. He'll be replaced by local businessman Ronnie Hamilton. Alex Totten was in his 3rd year as Killie boss after taking over from Tommy Burns. In that time he steered the club through major change as their Rugby Park ground was completed. Always renowned for attractive attacking football, Kilmarnock placed 7th in the table last season, their best Premier finish ever. But Totten's team has lost its last 2 games and now sit joint bottom of the table. His dismissal was unanimously approved at a board meeting at Rugby Park yesterday.
You'll not meet many nicer gentlemen in football than Alex Totten, and he was certainly the hardest working manager that Kilmarnock's had in my time. So it wasn't an easy decision to come to. But I think the reduced gates that we were experiencing in the league because of the poor results, the drop in the ancillary income that the club was achieving in the top 10, shop sales, all the factors were building up that things weren't the way we would like them to be.
Today Totten said, "I'm very disappointed. I have left the club in a better state than when I was appointed, and I feel I've enhanced the squad with the players which I bought. I wish the players all the best." Former striker and reserve team coach Bobby Williamson has taken over for the time being.
He has the ability to produce the results that we would like to have on the park. He will be given every opportunity to prove that.
So change on the park and in the boardroom too. Hamilton steps in for millionaire former chairman Jim Moffat, although he remains on the board. But does the shuffle mean the end of financial support from the Moffat family?
At some stage in our life at Kilmarnock, we'll have to get on with life without Jim Moffat. And it's probably a good thing that we're having to address the situation now rather than maybe a later stage. Jim Moffat has generated a tremendous amount of money into Kilmarnock Football Club as an individual, and that can't carry on forever. We need to stand on our own 2 feet basically, and that's something we'll just have to address.
I'll change it.
Managerial casualty number 4 in this season's Premier League. Alex Totten ousted by Kilmarnock.
You'll not meet a much nicer man in football. One of the hardest working managers we've ever had at Kilmarnock. At the end of the day, I think as Alec and all other managers know, they're judged by results at the end of the day.
Good evening and welcome to the football show on the day that Alex Totten became the 4th Premier Division manager to lose his job this season. The news came from Rugby Park this morning after Chairman James Moffat also stood down in favour of fellow director Ronnie Hamilton. The former Rangers player Bobby Williamson has taken over team matters meantime, with Saturday's home game with Dundee United his first game in charge. Well, joining me in the studio this evening, Scotland on Sunday sports writer Graham Spears and the Hearts and Scotland striker John Robertson. We'll be hearing from both our guests over the next half an hour. But first, football show reporter Peter Martin's been covering the day's events in Kilmarnock.
Alex Totten's sacking at Kilmarnock comes after a dismal start to the season for the Rugby Park side, with only 3 wins in 13 matches. The last of those victories way back on November 1st for the 4-2 defeat of Hibs at home. Totten's departure isn't the only change at the club, as James Moffat has decided to step down as chairman. His replacement is a former Killie player from the 60s, Ronnie Hamilton. The new chairman explained the need for change at the club.
Well, the decision I think is motivated. It was taken after great deliberation by the board, because we found it very difficult to come to this decision in many ways, because Alex Totten has conducted himself in an exemplary manner in the time he served as manager here. He's been a credit to his profession. You'll not meet a much nicer man in football. One of the hardest working managers we've ever had at Kilmarnock. But at the end of the day, I think as Alec and all other managers know, they're judged by results at the end of the day. And the results this year have not been to the board's satisfaction. And I think that was the determining factor at the end of the day. I felt this was the appropriate time to make a change, to give the new manager, whoever that may be, the time and the opportunity to correct that situation and get us back up the league where we would hope to be.
Alex Totten took over from the now Celtic boss Tommy Burns and was hailed by the then chairman James Moffat as the man to take Kilmarnock forward.
I think this man Totten has all the answers, and we'll see how he performs in the field.
The end of Totten's 2.5-year reign makes him the 4th Premier League casualty of the season, following on from Jimmy Thompson at Raith Rovers, Billy Kirkwood at Dundee United, and more recently Alex Miller's resignation at Hibs. Ironically, Killie's 1-0 defeat at the weekend at Raith Rovers was the final nail in Totten's coffin. And with the club now joined bottom of the table with the Kirkcaldy team, the fans weren't surprised by today's decision.
He hasn't produced the goods at all. The team haven't been performing as they can. There's a problem with their attitude, and I'm talking the team now, not the manager. I don't know the man personally, but I know the attitude is wrong with the team.
I've got to say I'm not that surprised. You've got to feel sorry for him. I think he did the best with what he had available to him. But are Kilmarnock ever going to be big time?
There's been quite a few folks out from the beginning of the season. Personally, I wasn't one of them personally, but I thought he'd done no a bad job. But things haven't been going his way this season. No.
Bobby Williamson will take charge of the team in the short term, but it's quite clear he wants a longer shot at the job.
Well, I said to the new chairman when I went up, this club means a lot to me since I've been here 6 years now. It's the same old story when you go to a club at first, you say, I've always been a supporter. I was never a supporter of Kilmarnock, I'll be honest with that, but now I am. I've been here 6 years, I know the history of the club, I know the feeling that the people around about this area have got for the club, and I know the people around about. And I just want to do well for them, and it doesn't really matter to me what capacity it's in. I said to the chairman at the time, I'll just work away, whether it's assistant manager, reserve manager, youth team coach, I'll give it 100%, and I just want to be here and I'll work away in whatever capacity they see me fit.
Yeah, we'll hear more from Bobby Williamson later in the programme. Graham Spears, were you surprised at the news from Rugby Park this morning?
No, it's a brutal business. The fact is that if your team are languishing at the bottom of the league round about Christmas, the Christmas present for the manager is the sack, and that's how it works. I don't think this sacking comes into the category of early season scandalous sackings. You get guys that are sacked after 3 or 4 weeks. But Alex, Alex Totten would know what was going to come to him. I think he's been bracing himself for this moment. We've said it before, there is such an economic gulf in the Premier Division. You could almost call it an economic league of tables apart from anything else. They're at the bottom, they've got the least of the cash going, and the manager gets sacked. That's the brutal reality of life in the Premier Division.
John Robertson, we're not even halfway through the season, and he's had to pay with his job.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I think a lot of people within the game will have a lot of sympathy for Alex Totten because, as his chairman's mentioned there, he is a very conscientious and hard-working manager. And it's a pity that people such as himself and the likes of Alec Miller have suffered by losing their jobs when you've only really gone a third of the way through the season.
And Graham, what are these clubs expecting? How much do they expect their managers to improve them? Do the Kilmarnock board expect them to be challenging Rangers and Celtic?
Well, I mean, obviously they can't expect that, but I think there is a holy grail of all these clubs at the lower end of the table, which is that they have mid-table respectability. That's what the Raith Rovers, the Kilmarnocks, the Motherwells, all these clubs, they say we should be, if not the top 1 or 2, the top 5 or 6. If they don't make that, their manager's neck's on the block, and that's what's happened here.
Is that too much pressure for managers, John?
No, I don't think it's too much pressure. I believe that every manager coming into the league will do his very best for the club, and we at Hearts know that the least that we should be doing or attempting to do is trying to qualify for the UEFA Cup through the 3rd place in the league, and that's what we set out every year, and a club of Hearts, Hibs and possibly Aberdeen standing should be doing that. The other teams, though, like Motherwell, have shown in the past that they can make it by putting it together, and I think that may have been perhaps the Kilmarnock board's, as Graham said, a holy grail. That may have been their target. Unrealistic though it may be for some of the clubs, I think that could be their pre-season target.
Quite amazing, Graham. Not even halfway through the season and 40% of the Premier League has changed their manager already.
Yeah, I know, there's been a lot of bloodshed, as they say, but it's a shame for Alex Totten. I agree with John. I have a lot of sympathy for him. He's a very respected guy in the game. I happen to think he's a good manager, but his fate has been always seemed to be with clubs that would toil, and he's paid for it again.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Jim Moffat, no longer the chairman at Rugby Park. The man reputed to be wealthier than Rangers owner David Murray after selling 80 Mays to the Royal Bank of Scotland. He stays on as a director, but the new chairman, chartered accountant Ronnie Hamilton. Peter Martin asked him to explain exactly why this morning's decision to sack Alex Totten was taken.
I think there's been a general sort of feeling amongst the fans that they would like to see change. As I said previously, we've found it very difficult to come to that decision because at the end of the day we've been very appreciative of the sterling qualities that Alex Totten has displayed at the club. But at the end of the day we've made a decision which we feel is in the long-term best interests of the club.
Do you feel as if Alex's departure from this club is merely an indication of the situation, of the desperation of this Premier League?
I think it does say it all. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that there's far too much pressure on all the people that are involved in football, especially in the Premier League in Scotland. I think it's very competitive in the First Division too, but the pressures that come to bear on managers in particular and directors are way out of proportion to what I would like to see. And I think there certainly needs to be change in Scottish football in the near future.
Well there, Graham, we have another call for change in Scottish football. We're back to that argument.
Well, I mean, we're going to go on and on arguing about this. I mean, the game has this very unhealthy aspect to it where Rangers and Celtic are so dominant. Certainly, clubs like Hearts and Hibs and Aberdeen can cause a challenge, as we've seen in the last 2 years. Yeah. Last 2 weeks, sorry. But the situation of Kilmarnock and Wraith Rovers at the bottom, it's all about bare-knuckled survival for them. And that's why the manager in that position is always going to have a really hard time.
It seems to be the case, John, that as soon as a club gets into trouble in the Premier Division, they decide it's not the way to go forward. We need a 16-team league.
Yeah, they keep saying that. I'm, for one, seem to fault with people because I don't think the Premier League 10 should be changed. I would far rather, it may be selfish, but I'd far rather play against Rangers and Celtic and Hibs and Aberdeen 4 times a season than, no disrespect to the people of Airdrie, etc., and Dundee and St Johnstone.
Is that a general feeling among most of the players?
Well, I don't know. I can only form my own opinion of this. And I would far rather, I mean, the last couple of seasons, whether you like it or not, the Premier League's been exciting in the way that Celtic has been going for the league. There's been 3 or 4 teams going for the UEFA Cup spot, and the other 4 or 5 teams have been battling out relegation. Now, 2 years ago, Hearts were in the relegation battle, and up until the second last game of the season, nothing had been solved. Now, that's exciting, and if you look at the attendances involved in that time, they were very large, very healthy indeed. As I say, if you bring in a 16-team league again, you may be able to bring kids through, but then you're getting to a stage where there'll be a lot of meaningless games coming March, April, and then eventually into May.
Yep. Well, the man now in charge at Rugby Park is reserve team coach Bobby Williamson, who was just as shocked as everyone else when the news was broken to the players this morning. As he told Peter Martin this afternoon, Alex Totten's luck has been out since day 1 of the season.
It's just been one thing after another. The manager said after the game on Saturday you could have wrote the script, them scoring the last kick of the ball. And it's been like that all during the season. When we have finally got a result, it's been a fortnight before we had another game. And then we lose, and then we've got another fortnight. So we've played 2 games this month. And at the start of the season, we've got Rangers, Celtic at home. All our hard games have been away from home, really. And it's been one thing after another, and we've just never really got a run yet. But we're optimistic. We always felt that we could turn it around. And this will be a big month for the club, especially the players know what they've got to do. And I've got great belief in the players, as the manager had. And we've got a squad here that could keep us in the Premier League and move up.
The predicament you find yourself in is it's very much a relegation situation. In the short term, what are your objectives?
My objectives is to keep the club in a healthy standing, which is 3 places above the bottom 2, obviously, and try and get us up the table as far as we can. But short term, I've got to try and get the players going, and hopefully they'll fight for me and fight for the club and the supporters, and that's the most important thing. They do it for the club, the supporters and themselves, not for me or for anybody else, really.
Well, Bobby Williamson's hat very much in the ring in terms of going for that Kilmarnock job, but Graham Spears, there's quite a few experienced managers unemployed at the moment.
Yeah, it's a very difficult and critical decision the Kilmarnock board have got to make. I think Bobby Williamson sounded quite genuine there, and he may or may not be able to do a good job, but they've got to decide whether they go for an old hand that will come in with experience, which Alex Totten had, to be fair, or whether they take a risk on a young guy with maybe fresher ideas, who's maybe closer to younger players like Bobby Williamson. Now, it's a very difficult decision. Right now, I wouldn't know what I would go for if I was on the Kilmarnock board, but they must decide that issue.
And briefly, John, the name Alec Miller is going to be in the back pages of a lot of newspapers tomorrow.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me at all. I think Graham's right. They have a decision whether they go for the old or the new, and perhaps Alec Miller's bang in the middle and could be the perfect choice.
Yeah, we'll find out probably fairly soon. That's it for the first And the race to fill the hot seat at Rugby Park is hotting up already the day after Kilmarnock parted company with Alec Totten. The former Rangers star Mark Hateley is interested in the position as player manager, but it seems he would have to agree to a massive cut in wages if Killie are even to consider the possibility. Other frontrunners currently looking for a job are Alec Miller, Billy Kirkwood, Steve Archibald and Alex Smith, but Killie said tonight that former Rangers Bobby Williamson and Jim Stewart would stay in charge for the time being and that the post would not be advertised. Stephen Cairns from Kilmarnock on the telephone now. Stephen, what's your point?
Well, Jim, I'd like to make a point about Alex Totten sacking yesterday. I felt that over the last couple of years that with Jim Moffat, the chairman of Kilmarnock, now reputedly is actually richer than David Murray. Just a lot of the Kilmarnock fans feel cheated since Bobby Fleeting's left the club and like to know where the money's went. You know, went to Paul Wright, but not many other players. I'd like to know the kind of panel's thoughts on that matter.
Right, Derek, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, I felt sorry for Alec Totten. I think we do with all managers that get a sack. But I'm afraid it's all about results. You know, Saturday's result at Kilmarnock, where Raith Rovers scored in the last minute, and it pulled Raith Rovers up alongside Kilmarnock. They're both of them on 11 points, sitting joint second bottom of the league. And I'm afraid it's all about results. I think there's a new lad coming on the board, Ronnie Hamilton. He's a young man, and I think he wants a young manager in. Alex Totten's had his worth, and he just decided to sack him there, and then that was it. Disappointing though it may be, but I'm sure Bobby Williamson will get his chance to do it at the end of the season. But I think a bigger name will get the job at the start of next season.
Bill, did Alec Totten get a fair crack of the whip? 2.5 years?
Well, it's a board's job to hire and fire, but what I would say, I didn't like the way they did it. I said so in the paper this morning. I thought their handling of it was absolutely disgraceful, because Alec Totten has been a great PR man for the club, and they didn't deserve the way they handled it. What I would say is, there was a quote in the statement they made that said our rightful place near the top of the league. They don't have a rightful place at the top of the league. They've got to work for it. And Alec Totten's had them 7th in the league the last 2 seasons. A few weeks ago I saw them against Hibs on TV and they were absolutely magnificent, played some great stuff. They've been good, they've been bad, but I do not know sometimes what football boards want out of their managers and their players.
Yeah. But it's the old saying, Jim, it's players that get managers a sack. I mean, you can remember he had a couple of semi-finals just a couple of seasons ago as well, and all these Kilmarnock fans going to Hampden loved it. All of a sudden he's bad, and it's all about results and where you are.